So this evening we'll talk about what to do when you can't do what you used to do. And the genesis of this program is I've lost my job twice. First time in 2012, the next time in 2013. My entire career was in information technology. And while I was between jobs, I would go to these job seeker support groups and try and learn and stay active and understand what it is like to job search, because I hadn't job searched in a long time. And every once in a while, I would to one of the groups. I went with a friend of mine, a neighbor in the next town, and we were driving home from one of the groups, and he was just really frustrated. And he said, I really wish someone would just do a presentation on what to do when you can't do what you used to do. Because the type of career that he had was kind of going away, wasn't as active anymore. And at that point, I was starting in my own job seeker support world, working and helping job seekers. I had a series of presentations. I did not have this one. And when he said that, gee, I wish someone would just tell me what to do when you can't do what you used to do, I kind of had the little light bulb over my head went off, and I started writing this presentation. And what was nice for this other fellow, his name is Michael, is he's a writer. So I asked him if he could help co-write it and be my editor. So we kind of worked on it together. And so, when you're in a job search and when you're struggling for yourself to figure out what should I be doing, how can I do it, why can't I get a job with the way I always used to, this program will hopefully shed a little bit of light on that for you. There we go. So I'll tell you just a little bit more about me. I am a technology guy. I've been a technology guy, well, since I was in college when I was studying computer science. I had worked in corporate for 30 years, and then as I said, I was twice laid off. And then after my second layoff, I started helping some people with little projects that they needed help with. They were like little gigs, little independent projects. And after doing that about a year, I found I was getting more of these little gigs than interviews. And I formed my own company, this information technology company called Princeton Technology Advisors. And it's based in Princeton, New Jersey. And these are some of the things that we do. We build websites. It's really my company, just me, but sometimes I work with subcontractors, and we'll do new websites or update someone's website if they need a little help, some redesigns. For small offices, I help with data backup, virus protection servers, and when they have some technology projects, I can help them manage their team and their project getting that completed. But my real passion is helping job seekers. I'm very active as a leader in the job seeker support community. It is very much a community. And there's one group in Princeton called the Professional Service Group of Mercer County. So I'm the executive chair or the leader. We meet every Friday morning. And you're all welcome to come visit if you want before the end of the program. I'll put the website in the chat. You can copy that down. It is psgofmercercounty.org, psgofmercercounty.org. And there are lots of groups like the PSG group. There's one called the Breakfast Club of New Jersey. There's another called the Career Support Group. They meet on Saturday mornings. And I'm a co-facilitator at another group called New Jersey Job Seekers, which is the oldest continuously running job seeker support group in the country. I wasn't there when it started. I've been active with it for 7-8 years now. So very active in helping job seekers in all manner of job search. So there's a little bit of a warning with this presentation, and it's usually a little bit fun to think about, especially when I do this program in person. And I want to just let you know that the first half of this presentation is very depressing. So if you need, I've got a box of tissues. If you want to take a couple of minutes, locate your box or package of tissues, you may want to do that, because this can sound like a depressing presentation. And the reason why is I'm going to really describe a lot of the reasons why there are challenges in job search. And it may seem a little disappointing. How am I going to move forward? But the good news is it does get very optimistic in the second half of the program. So from after the first half, we'll pivot, and you'll see that there are different strategies that we'll touch on and talk about. And of course, like I said, anytime you have a question, you could just kind of, interrupt or say, excuse me, got a question, and there'll be plenty of time at the end as well to kind of bring it all together with Q&A. We've got plenty of time for this program. So just wanted you to be aware, level set. So if you start getting a little nervous or a little depressed, it's perfectly natural. I get a lot of people nervous in the first half of this presentation. So why can't you do what you used to do? And it can be from different perspectives. For instance, maybe you've had a long corporate career and you're finding yourself in a job search, and the way you search for a job isn't quite working. Maybe you've had a gap in your career, taking care of a family member or raising a family or taking a break, having moved away. Maybe you're looking to make a career pivot and the way you used to job search isn't quite working for you. So let's talk a little bit about that. For one thing, you might not really be sure of today's job market. And with the pandemic, it's even a little bit more confusing with today's job market. So if you're not really sure about how today's job market functions, you may be trying to position yourself or compete in a way that you are not familiar with. You may also have physical constraints. It's not unusual for those of us as we get older, where roles or jobs become a little bit physically demanding. And we used to do it just fine, but now we're tiring easily, or maybe we can't sit or stand for long periods of time. So the job or the role or the industry we were in, it's just a little too hard for us right now. Maybe the industry that you were in or interested in has changed in such a way that you need certifications. It doesn't have to necessarily be a 4-year degree, but some sort of certification. And you've been in the job for a long time without it, but now that you're either re-entering or shifting to new companies, they are requiring that of their candidates. And so it's harder for you to compete in that way. You might have some outdated skills, whether it's skills about the industry, regulations and such, office skills, technical skills, some of the programs that people use to run the business. Maybe using the old version of the software or older tools. The industry is changing and you haven't been able to keep up. And that's not uncommon. It could be that you worked for a company for a long time. They weren't moving to new tools because they were happy with what worked. But now that you're pursuing a new career, the newer companies are looking for new skills. So this could be a reason why. And you don't really know what the hiring managers need. And I can tell you, I was a hiring manager, and sometimes hiring managers, they don't know what they need. But it's very important that you understand the job spec. And sometimes what they post in a job posting, unfortunately, doesn't quite match what they really need. Some of the problems are with that. Hiring managers don't like to hire people. Bosses don't like to hire people. They like to have people doing the work. So when HR or when they have to promote a position, they may just say, do what I did the last time. We'll just post that. But maybe their own position has changed and they weren't sensitive to it. So there's a little bit of a disconnect. So you really need to understand what hiring managers in the industry need today. You need to be competitive in that fashion. There are also disruptive influences that are all over, and you just need to be aware that they're out there. The economy is a disruptive influence. Sometimes the economy is poor. Sometimes it runs flat. Sometimes the economy is very strong. Of course, when the economy is strong, it tends to be a very positive effect for hiring. And so right now, what we're hearing in the news, the economy is a little bit back on an upswing, stock market aside, which is doing well, but in terms of job market, but sometimes the job market is the economy is a bit rocky. It can be flat or down. You have to be aware where you are at any point in time in relation to the economy. A lot of times what happens is certain industries impose new regulations or they remove regulations. And so in certain industries, it's often when there's a presidential administrative change. We're not going to make this a political discussion at all, but we just came out of a presidential election. So it is possible that there will be industry regulations that are either added or removed, depending on the way that the administration perceives. You need to know what the regulations are. Sometimes they are more restrictive for companies. Sometimes they're more liberating for companies. Be aware of what it is now, because that will help set the balance for you, level set for you right where you are within the industry. Technology changes all the time. You don't have to be in the computer field to be affected by technology. But it's certainly, depending on the nature of the work that you do, you may be using certain programs or processes. And as they get upgraded, or the new version, if you are using the old version, you may be a little bit out of date. Technology is getting delivered differently. So for those of you in tech, it used to be every company had the big data center and a room full of programmers, and now it's really delivered virtually. So that's changed. Artificial intelligence is not just affecting the computer industry. More and more artificial intelligence is affecting many, many jobs. Companies are signing up for different sort of automated decision makers to help streamline the process, and you need to know how to work with those tools as well. So just be aware that as technology updates or changes, it may affect how you're going to work in the marketplace. Hiring practices have changed. If you haven't looked for a job in a long time, you may remember working with a headhunter. When you contacted a headhunter, they were very hot to move you and push you someplace. Headhunters don't work that way. Internal HR doesn't work the way they used to. A lot of them are using programs, applicant tracking systems, also called ATS. Or when we get a little grumpy in the job seeker support community, we call them applicant trashing systems. So, but you have to be aware that those are out there and how to work with them effectively. We're not going to go into a deep dive into any of the hiring practices in the ATS, but if you have specific questions, I'll be happy to answer them as best as I can. And of course, in this case, we have the pandemic. The pandemic has really shaken up the job market. Lots of industries have temporarily shut down because of social distancing requirements. Certainly the entertainment fields, travel fields, most of the personal service fields have all changed. A lot of corporate worlds, people now are working from home and may not need to work in the office. So how's that going to affect companies? Well, we're still going to figure that out, but it wouldn't surprise me if, as companies hire, they will be more comfortable with people working from home and having a distributed workforce. They were forced into it last year. They didn't want to do this, but now they're seeing if it's worth their while. And so you have to be able to understand the impact that that's going to happen on your job search. So far, so good? Good. So why not focus on your old role or your old job? Or why not search the way you used to search? Well, if you're not finding positions that match your skills, that may be a reason why not to focus on your old role. And so if you are used to working in a certain way and having a certain job and a certain position, and that's the one you're looking for, and that's the one that you want, if you're not finding many positions that match your skills, it may be time not to focus on that prior role or that older role that you had. Another reason is the network, the people that you know, former coworkers, and maybe people in different administrative groups and professional associations, they can't help you. You're looking for certain jobs, you don't see them, they don't see them either. And so you may not want to focus on that old role as well. You know, recruiters aren't calling you. You're putting your resume out on job boards, you're completing your LinkedIn profile, you're trying to get as much information out to be seen. Recruiters aren't calling you. They're not calling you because those positions may not be available, or those skills may not be needed in exactly the way that you have them right now. So it may be time not to only focus on the old role and the old industry. You're not getting interviews. So maybe you are talking to a recruiter, you have that initial conversation, and they're just not able to help you. Or maybe you're reaching out to people who are working in companies directly. You're using your network and you're getting those conversations, but you can't get any further. They're just not interviewing you because the skills you have really are just not competitive in today's market. Maybe you did get that first interview. A lot of times people get that first interview because companies do want to understand how your skills in the past can help them today. But there's no next step. They're not inviting you back for the next interview. So you're kind of stuck at that pace. You're focusing on the old job that you did, but it's not really getting you anywhere. And you start feeling disappointed and maybe even a little depressed. And that's natural to feel that way. There's nothing wrong with feeling that way because, well, we're all human and we have these emotions. These are not positive feelings when they last for a long time. But if this is starting to come upon you or lasting for a long time, it may be time to look differently towards your career. Now, there is a cost of staying the course. And so if you said, nope, I've got to look for that job, it's what I do, I've only got a few years left in my career, or this is just what I love to do, no matter how much longer my career is going to be, realize there may be a cost for staying the course, for trying to find that position where there's few of them out there. You, for a little bit longer, may have a lost income opportunity. You know, if you're not working, you're not earning income. And so be aware that if you are, fishing in a dry pond, it's going to take you a long time before you may get a little bit of success catching a fish. And the same thing with looking for a job in roles that are disappearing a little bit. And that's just, the normal course of what happens. You might begin to have less fulfilling personal time. If you're managing your budget and your expenses a little bit more tightly, you may not be going out for dinners as much, or going to movies, or taking a vacation. Certainly you can go out and take a walk and you can do things that way, but the types of things you might have done in the past that your income would have helped you with, it may not be there. Now, of course, with the pandemic, we're feeling quite a bit of this also, less fulfilling personal time. Movie theaters are closed and such. Restaurants have limited capacity. But imagine even beyond the pandemic that this continues. So you don't want to have that, but be aware it is a cost of staying the course potentially. And then your morale starts dropping and your motivation starts dropping. Job search gets old. I've been through it a number of times, and I realize, sending out lots of resumes, getting a few interviews, but not landing that position, after a while becomes frustrating. It becomes it's an old feeling, and you begin to lose your focus. You begin to lose your commitment. You'll put less time into it. You start thinking about why am I doing this? I'm not getting anywhere. And while the truth is you are making progress, it doesn't feel that way when you're in the middle of it, and you do reduce your motivation a little bit. And if you have a family at home that has a reliance on your income, or an expectation of the benefits of that income, your bad mood and your reduced budget may have an impact on them. And then they may get a little bit frustrated, and they may start getting into a little bit of a sour mood. And then you'll pick up on that, and that'll feel badly to you. And that can be a little bit of a downward spiral. The good news is it doesn't last forever. And of course, these are normal feelings, especially when these are new to you, if you've lost your job for the first time, or if your family is not really involved with the process that you're going through. And once you get past it, things will be better. But while you're going through it, this could have a little bit of a downward feeling as well. By the way, anyone remember the last time old skills really mattered? Josh was a little boy. So the last time real old skills mattered was Y2K. So some of you may remember Y2K. Y2K happened right before the year 2000. That's what Y2K means, year 2000. And what was happening was it was kind of a Chicken Little movement. People were saying the computer systems were going to crash, planes were going to fall out of the sky, trains were going to crash into each other. Next month when you get your electric bill, it'll be 100 years worth of electric. The reason why was when we built computer systems years ago, memory storage was very expensive. Now it's not. Now you can have a little USB card and hold a tremendous amount of memory. So one of the things that we did when we wrote programs and built databases, we only allowed 2 digits for the year. So imagine 1998, you could put the 98 and it's fine. And then 1999 comes and you change the year and that's fine. And 99 is bigger than 98, so you can do the math. It's 1 year difference. Come 2000, the year is 0. So when you subtract 0 from 99 to find out how many weeks, months, or days have gone by, it's over 100 years or a negative 100 years. They got all the programmers back. Even if they were retiring, they got lots of people, a lot of consultants to come and fix all the computer systems. And once they did, then those people were let go again. But I'm just using this as a reference or an analogy of when really old skills really mattered. And for a lot of our industries, old skills just don't matter anymore. But there was one case that old COBOL programmers and Fortran programmers did get a little renaissance bit of work. All right, so how you doing? You need a break to get more tissues? You're crying out, you know. Fortunately, the microphones are off, so if you're crying loudly, we're not hearing it, and that's kind of good. So this is kind of the midway point where we feel a little bit, we'll start to feel a little better. But what are you kind of getting a sense so far? Anything going through your minds? Any thoughts, questions? Okay, and you know, I've done this program for a few years. I almost never get questions at this point because people are still catching their breath or getting their emotion back or hoping things get better. And really it does. But I really just wanted to level set what happens when you're only job searching in an old way. Okay. So it will get better from here, at least from the perspective of the program and this class. And then of course, for the presentation as well. So first of all, if you must do what you used to do, if you're going to stick with the career path that you were down, change the way you're searching for a job. Don't just search for a job the way that you used to, because it may not have been working well. So maybe you have been spending a lot of time submitting online applications. Statistically, the traditional job search, which is either submitting online or working with recruiters, statistically, about 25% of jobs are landed that way. So if you spend 100% of your time online or trying to work through recruiters directly or looking in papers or job boards, you're spending 100% of your time for at best a 25% return. And I've heard different statistics. I've heard 20%, 15, so optimistic 25. Also, do more networking. Reach out to more people that work in the industry where you're interested in working. What you're going to learn from them is, what's the job market like? What is your company? How do they hire? What type of tools are they looking for and skills? So you get a lot more information. And at the same time, someone else in the field is getting to know you. So you have to do a bit more networking. Also, start visiting other places where professionals hang out. So there are a lot of professional associations that are out there. Now, probably the in-person ones really aren't meeting very often right now, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. But also what's gotten a lot of attention more and more are meetup groups. And if you're not familiar with it, the website is actually called meetup.com. It is not the world's largest dating website. There are other websites for that. What meetup.com is a virtual marketplace, a virtual program, and it's a collection of groups. And the groups do try to meet in person, although a lot of them have switched, or most of them switched virtually now. And the groups are a collection of like-minded people. So you can find programs and groups of interests of yours. Now, you don't only have to meet people in your profession. What you may want to do is meet people in your industry. And that's a little bit different. For instance, if you are a computer programmer, you don't necessarily have to be in a group full of computer programmers. You might want to be in a group full of financial service companies, because you can work in a financial service company and you'll meet a wide variety of people there. So think of it that way. If you're an accountant, you can join a group of accountants. You could probably stay current in the marketplace, but also join groups of software development companies, because you want to be an accountant in a software development company. I'm just using examples. I'm not saying those are right or wrong for you, but I'm just getting you to think differently. You want to be in the places where the people you want to meet who can help you get a job will be. Meetup.com is completely free to use. There are no costs to sign up. There are no costs to join a group. The people that pay for the meetup.com program are the ones who form the groups. Now, it is possible the local group does have their own membership fee for the group, but to join the program and find these, completely free. And you create a profile. Create a profile that includes your professional interests and also your personal interests. You have to put and it guides you through it. This is not a meetup.com education, but it's pretty easy to use. And then it guides it through it and save your profile. Meetup.com, the program runs night and day, and it will send you emails. It might say, hey, there's a transportation group that's meeting in Parsippany, New Jersey. It'll let you know. Maybe that's something you can go to, or whatever your particular field is. Go, don't go, go once, you don't like it, don't go again. So meetup.com, very powerful place. Look for something in a similar role, but consider shifting industries, because a lot of times industries are fluctuating, but the job that you have could be available in different organizations. And that could be very powerful. And we're going to talk more about transferable skills in a couple of minutes, but this becomes very powerful. So if you were, the accountant in the transportation industry or the programmer in the transportation, that's fine. You may consider moving to an industry that's growing because they need that role if the industry that you came from is not hiring as much. Consider moving if you're able to. A lot of times industries have centralized. Banking has become very big in North Carolina, IT, of course, in Silicon Valley, but also in South Dakota. There's a big IT area as well. Now, not everybody can move. I'm not suggesting that's the way to do it, but if your personal situation allows you to, look where the the geographic locations are that are hiring people like you. Also, consider different types of employment. A lot of us are thinking, I've got to get that full-time job and get the benefits. And I get it, because a lot of people do need the benefits. If you have a spouse or partner that has benefits, you're a little bit less tied to that. But if you were the primary earner and you brought in the benefits, it becomes important. So consider different types of employment. For instance, consider consulting. Consider part-time or temporary work. You won't necessarily get benefits, or you may, you just never know, but often with these types you don't. But what you do get is income. With that income, you can buy benefits. If you're not working and you need to buy the benefits, it's coming out of your pocket. But if you're earning some money, then it's not coming out of your bank accounts or your pocket. So consider that. Also, consider projects that help you transition out of the old way into the new way. You might be having a hard time getting a job, learning about the new software or the new techniques or working with the new regulations. But there are companies that are transitioning. You know the old way, so you can help them. And then what happens is they're teaching you the new way. So you may have an opportunity, and even if this becomes a part-time or consulting opportunity, it's not a problem because it's education on the job. So it can work out very well. You may want to start your own business if you've never had your own business before. You may be able to leverage what you have into some sort of business where you can serve your clients directly. It's not for everybody, but some people, it may work out very well. Remember, considering different employment types in the market that you're in. And be very patient. This does take a while, especially if you are focusing mostly on the career and the role that you're used to do. But if you're going to focus on that direction, these are some of the ways that can soften and ease some of the stagnation that you have. So, how you guys doing so far? Okay. Any questions at this point? Okay, no worries. We will move along. So, how do you start moving forward? Well, for one thing, you do want to start with a self-assessment. You really got to figure out where you are now, where your skills are now, how you will be truly able to compete in the marketplace. And it could be, do I want to do the job that I used to do? Do I have the skills that I want to do? Lots of things you're going to have to think about, and you're going to have to be honest as you do the self-assessment. So one of the things to think about, has the way my job is performed, has it changed? Have things changed and I haven't kept up with them? And so that's one thing that you're going to have to try and understand. Maybe speak to people who are currently working in the marketplace. Do a little bit of research online. Speak to a reference librarian. A lot of libraries are doing reference librarians over the working with reference librarians over the phone. Someone else who can help you understand the way your job function is performed right now. Because if it's largely changed, you want to make sure that you're not trying to compete in an old paradigm. Do I have the knowledge or the skills or the tools to do the job right now? Because maybe the job has changed, maybe the tools that you're using. I mean, I used to be a real crackerjack with Lotus 123. That's an old program that's just not around anymore. Actually, I was so good at Lotus that I can write external programs to send data to Lotus without file input and update kind of thing. But there's no Lotus anymore. We use Excel or other tools. If there are laws or regulations around my industry and my role, am I current with them? Have they changed? I was manager of financial systems for a number of years, and we were in a leasing system, a leasing company. And so there were a lot of federal accounting standards that would periodically change. And even though I was an IT guy, I met very often with the financial folks to understand what the regulations changed as they came in. So if you're an industry that has a lot of regulations, you have to make sure if you've stepped away for a while, how you're impacted, and make sure that you're up to date on those. Also, very important, identify your transferable skills, your core strengths. These are things that are more or less also called soft skills. These are not the hard skills of doing the jobs. We're going to get into this in a moment, because a lot of times what happens is, even if your hard skills have gotten a little rusty, the soft skills, the skills of how you do your job, not the way you do it, but not the tools you use, but just how you go about managing it, can be very powerful in getting you into a position when you have a hard time because of older skills. So make sure you identify your strengths, your skills, because these are the true values that you'll be bringing to your next employer. Also, find out people that know you well, maybe former coworkers, former managers, former bosses. And even if you're a few years out of school or having recent education, speak to teachers or students that you know. Find out what their opinion is about you professionally. Don't just ask your friends and family. The problem with friends and family is they will not give you an honest assessment of your professional skills. They love you, they care about you, they want the best for you, but they never worked with you. And so they'll just think you're perfect the way you are. You really need to speak with someone who can speak to you honestly about you professionally. And then, I don't know if there are any Monty Python fans out there, but do I even want to do what I used to do? This is the guy that didn't want to be a barber, he wanted to be a lumberjack. So if you're a Monty Python fan, that's Michael Palin singing that song. So you have to think about, do I really want to do what I've done previously? Or as part of my job focus, really should I change and focus someplace else? And so that will also help you. And then you may need to take or consider taking professional assessments. Most of these do have small fees. They're not terribly expensive, but these can help you with DISC is a personality assessment. Myers-Briggs is a professional assessment about your skills and whatnot. You may want to consider getting a professional assessment that will help you. You may not have realized that based on your skill set or based on your personality, you may be good at something different. And it'll allow you to compete more effectively if you know that. So we talked about transferable skills. Let's talk about soft skills. Okay. So look beyond your hard skills. Your hard skills are the computer programs you use and the different tools that you use. Some of them may be outdated. So, if you are someone who introduces yourself and says, hello, I've got 20 years of experience in the technology you're moving away from, then that hiring manager who hears that is not going to hire you. So you may have some older hard skills. It's not that you didn't learn anything and it's not that you were ineffective. They're just not current anymore. They're just a bit outdated. So you want to look at the non-technical skills that really show how you do your job, not the tool you use, your approach, you're working with other people, your way you tackle problems, the way you handle challenging employees, the way you organize your time. Things like that are soft skills. And people without the skill set that you have in industry may not have very strong developed soft skills, having not worked in industry for a long time. These are also skills that could be transferred from job to job. So if you have Lotus 1, 2, 3, and they say, nope, we're hiring Excel people, you're not going to get the job. But if you know how to manage your time well enough and complete projects on time, that's something that's important to have. That's time management is a soft skill. So when you write your resume, when you meet people in person, whether it's interviews or at recruiters, you'll make sure that you talk up your soft skills very strongly. Soft skills are extremely valuable for your future. You are learning from or promoting from the types of things you've learned in your prior experience. So anytime that you apply for a new job, highlight your soft skills, especially when you're looking for the jobs in a different industry. So if you don't have a lot of industry background in the industry that you experience, you can't talk about what you accomplished in that industry you're looking towards, but you talk about the soft skills, the value that you bring from your experience beyond just the tools. Also, when you're changing your role or changing your position, some people are looking to take a step up or a step over. And so if you're looking to do that, you're going to highlight soft skills and the value that they bring to your next hiring manager and the value that you're going to bring to your next employer. And also, jobs where your hard skills are becoming outdated. So if you're needing to learn the new hard skills and you are maybe taking online classes or you're trying to learn a little bit, you can talk about how you're learning those hard skills, and how you're learning them are the soft skills, your education, your drive, your desire to learn. Those are things that become very valuable. And a lot of times when companies hire people, they may be willing to forego some of these hard skills because they know they can teach those to you. Soft skills take a long time to learn, so a lot of times they have a tremendous value to hiring companies. Now, by the way, that's a little bit different when you are looking to be a consultant. If you're looking to be a consultant, they do want you to have good, strong, hard skills. They want you to hit the ground running. But when you're going to look for a full-time position, they want you to be someone that they can work with for 8 hours a day, and the value you bring that way. And some of the hard skills are something that you can teach. And thinking a little bit about David, where you're very client focused, you're going to have to be more focusing on hard skills, but your soft skills really will allow clients to be comfortable with working with you. So I'm just using you as an example there. After your self-assessment, well, embrace your reality. This is the Kubler-Ross stages of grief. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. We go through this with lots of things, lots of life's challenges. We just feel this way. The denial is, I can't believe this is happening. And the anger is, how can somebody do this to me? And the bargaining might be, well, maybe if I do something different and go back to them, they'll be happy. And then if none of that works, you start feeling a little depressed. And these are all normal. We go through this with lots of life's challenges. You really need to get to a point of acceptance, because we tend to be much more effective as a worker when we can accept where we are right now and then find the things that we need to work and move forward. So, the stages of grief are normal. We go through it with a job loss or challenging a job search. And so be aware, this is the situation that I am in now. regardless of the prior denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then you'll have a clearer head to be able to move forward and strategize appropriately. Also, make sure you know your worth. Make sure you can create a bit of a value proposition, how you can promote yourself. You've done your self-assessment, you know what your hard skills are, you know what your soft skills are, and talk those up, the ones that are very optimistic and powerful and important for the industry that you're going into right now. Don't focus on the ones that are less important. And this helps you define for you a worth to your company, your new company, and you can develop this value proposition, this message that you're going to sell yourself into new organizations. And sometimes you need other help, external help figuring it out, and that's okay. So you can work with other people to help you possibly. You may want to hire a career coach. Hiring a career coach works when you know the industry you want to go in, but you're having challenges being effective in navigating in. So when you kind of know where you want to be and you're just not making good inroads, a career coach may be somebody that can help you. If you don't yet know what you really want to do, then that may be better off speaking to a life coach. Now, a life coach is not a social worker, not a therapist. Those are people that really help dig into your emotions and go back into your past and things like that. Life coaches kind of help you from today going forward. So if you really feel that you're struggling emotionally, a therapist or a psychologist may be more appropriate. But in most cases, if you just kind of figure out what should I be doing next, a life coach may be somebody that can help you. Or ask other friends or other networking people or other people you know professionally. Remember, friends love you and care about you. They may not be able to help you professionally, but they can give you a little guidance and assistance personally, and your friends and family. And other friends that you know, former coworkers and other people in your industry can help you a little bit from industry perspective and professional perspective. So you can ask others that you know as well. And also keep your family in the loop. If you've got family at home, remember sometimes your little bit of bad feelings and bad mood that you're in can affect them. Let them know what you're doing. Keep them in the loop. So this way they it's a bit easier for them to understand, not just the struggle that you have, but the process that you're going through to get through it. And so, yes, they know that you went on an interview and it didn't go as well as you wanted, but you're trying very hard and you'll get past that point. But don't keep them in the dark. It really helps them and ultimately helps you as well. So what are some things that you can change? Well, change the way you are job searching. Like I said, spend less time online. Start connecting with people. You can send them emails. You could start calling people, reach out and touch somebody. You want to start developing your professional network. You can visit job seeker networking groups, industry networking groups, and the like, meetup groups, industry associations. Also, what becomes very handy, especially when you want to work for another company, create a targeted company list. Make sure you know the companies where your role is going to be valuable. And that way you can have a more targeted job search rather than just putting yourself out there and hoping people find you. You're going to be able to target companies directly. Change your tools. So, you know, a lot of people are using your resume. Okay. And a resume, you should not have one resume. If you're using a resume for job search, you should not have one resume. You can have one master resume, and a master resume could be 3, 4, 5, 6 pages long. It doesn't matter. You're not giving the master resume to anybody. Master resume has every company you worked for, and it has every task that you completed, every challenge that you've overcome, could have lots of bullet points at each of your positions. So you have to think deeply about creating it. All the skills that you've earned, that you've learned along the way. But what you do with the master resume is you then hone it and target it for the job description that you're reading. So if you read a job description of a company and it's a role and it's of interest to you, take that big master resume and take the pieces out and put it into your targeted resume. So how many resumes should you have? One for every job that you apply to. They're going to be a little different. Now, you do need to be on LinkedIn, especially if you're going to have any sort of corporate-oriented career. And so make sure your LinkedIn profile is updated. It does not have to match your resume. It really can supplement your resume. Also look to be on meetup.com or other social media activity. Now, people ask me a lot of times, what's the best social media website to be on when I'm in job search? This you're going to want to write down because this is really very important. It depends. That's the answer. Different industries use different social media sites. Some service-oriented sites, industries use different than corporate-oriented. If you're B2B, you're going to be different than if you're B2C. Business-to-business type businesses use different ones than business to consumer. Consumers tend to be using Facebook a lot. Although not young people very much anymore, but there's a lot of Facebook. So, so someone, for instance, like David or Josh, you may want to be on the more B2C. You're competing with those people there, and you're trying to find people that are more consumer-oriented for a lot of your work opportunities. Now, there could be lots of websites as well. If you're new to social media, just try one. Start with one. You don't have to be on all of them at one time. Also, you want to figure out where your competitors are. So what you do is start looking, doing Google searches based on your industry, your role, the types of clients or customers you're looking for, and see what websites show up in social media. You want to be where your audience and your competitors are. So that's how you find it. It depends. Remember, there's different employment types. There are lots of different employment types. You can work part-time, you can consult, you can do temporary work, seasonal work. You can consider working second or third shift. Maybe you were used to working 9 to 5. My brother-in-law is in device manufacturing, and he lost his job one time. He's lost a few times, about the same time I did in 2012. He found a terrific job at a terrific company about 15 minutes from his house. They put him on third shift. They needed a manager on third shift. And it was hard for a while because when he got home, the kids were going to school. And then when he woke up, the kids were coming home from school. And so it was kind of backwards. He couldn't as easily support, his wife helping the family. But he did that for about, 6-8 months, and then they moved him over to first shift. So third shift, second shift may be an opportunity. Look to do on-call jobs where you're on standby. If someone doesn't make it in, you'll get called in. Job sharing. Sometimes that's common with people that can only work part-time, but the organization needs a full-time person. A number of companies are moving to what's called 10-hour days. And you work 4 days a week. You might be 4 days on, 3 days off. And so maybe be open to that if your personal home schedule can accommodate that. More and more, there's telesales or telesupport or remote jobs. Certainly under the pandemic now, a lot of jobs have shifted to remote. So, you may want to look at jobs that may stay that way and only be that way, even though you were used to working in an office or maybe on site. So consider different employment types. It opens up different opportunities, more opportunities for you. Also look to change roles. Maybe you were an accountant, but instead you can be a financial planner. Maybe you worked in one industry, but you could be in another industry. Your industry maybe had a lot of regulations or needed regulatory compliance. You can work in lots of industries that have regulatory compliance, even though you were not in that regulated industry. Also change job level. You might consider taking a step backwards, doing something a little bit different in order to get into that company. And there are actually a couple of advantages to it. Now, of course, at a lower job level, you may have a slightly lower income than you were used to before, and that does happen. But what happens is you tend to have a little bit change in responsibility. So having that lower responsibility for right now and being a bit more hands-on will really help you learn the organization, the company, the role, the new hard skills you have to learn. And then as you progress and start becoming more efficient and effective, your management will see and then promote you. So, and then you'll get that income. And if you say, well, I really got to have that income, I get it. But think about it. If you're not working now, you've got no income. So this is a way of getting some income coming in, really easing some of that stress that you may have. And like I said earlier, an opportunity might be, I'll start my own business. It may be time to do my own thing. Or maybe buy a franchise, which is a business that's already operating with brand recognition and corporate support. There's a little bit more upfront costs when you buy a franchise often than starting a business, but it can be a very effective way of getting back into the job market. You guys doing okay? Still? Good. Awfully quiet. So there are some next steps. Among them, make sure you investigate the state of your target role and your target industry. And then for David, where you're a bit more of an independent, make sure you understand the nature of the consumer right now. Maybe they've changed a little bit. Maybe they've desired new things. Maybe there's new services that they want that you haven't been able to, either you don't have them or you haven't promoted properly before. So you want to make sure you understand the state of your job and role and industry where you're competing. Identify different roles, industries, and job levels. That way you can be more flexible. You can be more open to more potential opportunities. So just don't narrowly focus, but broaden your focus. If you need, upgrade your skills. You may need to get some certifications. I could tell you that when I was in corporate America, I was managing million-dollar projects, staff, groups of people. But once I lost my job and I went in the job search, companies wanted people with project manager certification. I didn't have project manager certification. My old company didn't need it, but new companies want it. Even though I've got the skills, this was one thing that they thought is a differentiator. So if your industry is moving towards certifications, you just may need to start looking for those if it's necessary. A great way to develop new skills and new connections is to volunteer. Organizations that ask for volunteers are very happy to meet new people, even if you don't have the exact skill set they need, because they know that you're a strong worker that will learn what's needed to help them. And this does a couple of things. One is, while you learn new skills, you start meeting people, and it also fills the gap in your resume. If you're unemployed right now, there is, sadly, unemployment bias, unemployment discrimination. It is illegal. It's not legal to discriminate against people who are unemployed. But hiring managers have this mindset. If they have two qualified candidates, you, if you're unemployed, and somebody else with similar skills who is employed, sadly, the employed person gets the job most of the time. There's this bizarre sense of, well, if no one else will hire this person, why should I? But now you're volunteering. Put this on your resume as professional experience. No one has to know that it didn't pay you anything, but you want to highlight those skills and the opportunity that you're working. You may want to consider starting your own business. You may want to work as a consultant. You may want to work as an independent consultant or in a consulting company. This is from the mindset, of course, if you are only focusing on working full-time for an employer, it may be time to consider working as a consultant instead, rather than just as an employee. And make sure you update your resume and update your LinkedIn profile. These are both dynamic documents. And actually, LinkedIn, being a social media site, really values your activity on the site. So that when someone searches for someone like you, not when they search for you directly on LinkedIn, when they search for you directly on LinkedIn, you'll pop right up. But if they search for someone like you, you want to come up higher in the search results, so if they're doing it by role. And what we know is active profiles come up higher in the job search, in the person search than inactive profiles. Not much different than when you do a Google search, right? Google search has companies that come up on the first page, the websites and stuff that come in the second and last. very few people go past the second page. So you want to increase your odds of going up. So every once in a while, update your LinkedIn profile. And it could be something very small. Or maybe join a few groups on LinkedIn and post something. Or just comment. And the comment could be, that was a nice post. When you see someone else writing a post, just comment. And LinkedIn will really appreciate that you're active. So as we wrap up at least the presentation portion of this evening, consider why you can't do what you used to do. You have to think deeply about this. Understand the effect of staying the course. If you really want to do just what you used to do in the way you do it, at least understand if there's an impact of staying that course. Know the limitations of pursuing an old job or an old role with old skills. This may also impact your time back into market. Do take a robust self-assessment. You want to ask, and be honest, ask yourself key questions about your role in the marketplace. And again, these have to be honest answers and researched, not just, yeah, I think this is the way it is, or my gut tells me. It's got to be honest answers. Identify your soft skills, your transferable skills. These are your really strong selling points into any new position. Okay? You'll be able to discover a new direction by taking this self-assessment, and your answers will guide you really in the direction you have to change. And we're not talking about doing a 180. It might just be pivoting a little bit just to get you pointed in the right direction now. And this is something we do all the time in lots of life experiences. We'll do it in job search as well. And by doing so, you'll get yourself back into your job search with really a renewed vigor and a stronger, more optimistic outlook. So, any questions at this point? If you'd like, you can unmic yourselves. And by the way, if you want to find this slide deck, I thought I had a slide with the picture. So this slide deck right now is posted on my website. And so just go to princetontechadvisors.com, and I'll open it in a moment. I can even show you. And there is a link at the top called workshops. So this is a workshop. All my job seeker and business training classes are all there. They're all there from the last 7 or 8 years. But you'll see on recently offered programs, and you click on that, and all the ones from this year are here, and this one is at the top. And what I'll do is once I get the video done, I will also put the video as a link in that same place. So you'll go to princetontechadvisors.com, workshops, and recent programs. And if that's not clear, I'll open my website in a moment just to show you real fast. So some thoughts, some questions, concerns?
I have a question actually. So yeah, so first and foremost, thank you. Very informative and I really appreciate it. But to the section in which you talked about hiring potentially a career coach if you know what you want to do and just like kind of need more like in the field guidance versus a life coach when you're kind of trying to like weigh out your options. What do you, I've flirted with this idea before, but how do you recommend going about looking for either option? Because when I've done research, and I've like known someone in my life who was kind of a hybrid of both, but it was more of a personal connection that turned into a professional connection. Okay. Whenever I've like searched for either option, it seems like that's something you could do based on kind of just searching on your own, but it's something that's kind of recommended via like professional like networking recommendations.
Yeah, so career coaches and life coaches sometimes specialize, and they, especially with career coaches, and I can recommend any of a number of career coaches. I can send you to a website that has a list of them. You do need to speak with them. Most of them give you a free half-hour discussion kind of thing, getting to know you. Some career coaches are generalists. Some specialize. There's one gentleman that I know who does resumes and cover letters and LinkedIn profiles. Another woman that I know who specializes in resumes and branding. A gentleman that I know that only specializes in interview preparation. And so there's no reason why you can't work with a generalist who may be able to help you with all, or maybe you work with the resume person for a little while, and then as you're getting interviews, because a good resume should get you some interviews, then you work with the interview person. So that sort of thing. So you'll have to speak with them or get recommendations from people that have hired these coaches, either life coaches or career coaches, and meet them, at least virtually, and see if there's a connection.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Josh, you're out of school for a number of years, but I know that my children's schools offered help with resumes, and there were websites on the school main site that were alumni that were looking to hire alums.
Right. That's actually how I found the aforementioned connection that I had a few years ago. She worked at my university. So yeah, but yeah, thank you. That is helpful.
You know, whether you're out of school 5 years or 25 years, reach out to your alumni association. You know, your alumni association will have people in different stages of their careers. The automatic bond is your school. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah, you never know. And it's, you know, kind of an organization that's a bit of a tangent from the original university itself, but you have that automatic connection is, hey, you went to the university.
Right.
Well, that's an opportunity, certainly.
Also, if you're thinking about going back into psychology, I would really look at that seriously, because we were trying to get therapy for one of our children, and it was really hard to find someone that was available, and people that were available were very expensive. So I think the field needs people. There's room in that field.
Right. Yeah. I undergrad studied psychology in kind of the general undergrad sense. I was interested in that in the first place because my mother is a clinical psychologist. But I've kind of known the whole like time that I was studying and my whole life since that like clinical psychology isn't quite my like doesn't quite align with how I would want to pursue it. So if I went back to grad school, it'd be more so for something like social psychology. Something that might be more so on like the policy or research side of things. But yeah, I am interested in it for the same reasons, just like kind of knowing the collective humanity, humanitarian need, I suppose, for like more psychologists in the general sense in our, modern time. Thank you, though.
Yeah, and you can certainly reach out to people in different areas of the social sciences to see if they can shed light on more about their specialty and see where your interest really lies.
Yeah.
That could be helpful. Yeah, it becomes extremely important to start meeting people in the profession that you're interested in. They will become your allies. They will become people that will be a reference for you, possibly. They may even hire you at some point in the future. And when you reach out to people and start building a professional network, it's not about a job. You don't contact someone just because there is a job. It's always about job hunt, and everybody knows, but don't ask about a job. Really what it's about is getting to learn more about the industry or the company or the roles. It's really about educating you. And the flip side is the better they get to know you, the more they'll think about, the more opportunity they'll have to think about you when there is that job that comes up. Or they'll be able to be a reference for you or introduce you to another company where they have a connection. For someone like David, being in the trade, you might want to expand your network with other tradespeople. And that may be a way for you to be exposed to more clients. And I don't know certainly enough about what you do. It sounds you're pretty much like a GC or carpenter. But start connecting with more electricians or more plumbers or more tile people, because sometimes when a plumber is called in, if they put a hole in the wall, they may need the carpenter to come in and fix it when they're done. That kind of thing. So what happened, that actually happened to me. In our house, we have 2 bathrooms, they're on top of each other. We were having the second bathroom redone. And so who came? The plumber and the snotty kid that was learning to be a plumber. And so we gutted the bathroom, pulled up the floor, and the kids stepped off the beam onto the sheetrock, which was the ceiling below it.
Of course.
Had to bring the carpenter in to repair the downstairs ceiling. So, those things happen. And so, or the flip side is we had a tile guy putting some tile in that bathroom, and he was driving a bolt into the wall, and he punctured a behind the wall heating pipe. Called the plumber in. So he had to pay for that expense. So those relationships take care of themselves. But if you think about it, when you try to meet individual customers, any one connection can get you one job. Well, that's good. But if you meet tradespeople, any one tradesperson can connect you with lots of customers. So it tends to do well to connect more and more with people in complementary areas.
David, do you participate in some of these neighborhood chat groups like Nextdoor?
I don't. I know there are people that do. I participate in some business networking groups. My passion and my love and what I love to help people in job seeker support in those groups. But for my business, I'm in small referral networking groups. And in that case, each member is the only one of that profession. And since we have a variety of professions, if the marketing guy has a client who needs a tech support, maybe he brings me in.
Oh, yeah, we have that in my town. I'm in Hopewell, and there's a group. But I was thinking in terms of the carpentry work, a number of, I would say at least once a week, someone on my Nextdoor group says that they're looking for a handyman, or they're looking for a plumber, or they're looking for people to say, who do you have? And there's always somebody who says, well, I can do that. And they obviously are trolling it, looking for people to ask about it.
Yeah. Oh, people like referrals all the time. Think about it. If your sink was running and you couldn't stop, you might call a friend. Do you know a good plumber? And so you want to get known by more people. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten some work the past few years from a Nextdoor site. It has been very helpful. And I don't know if there's any way I can get you my contact information, Cynthia. I'd be glad to pass it on to you if that would help.
Oh, sure.
Put it in the chat. The chat is the little circular icon in the upper right corner. Looks like a cartoon call out. And if you want to exchange each other's contact information, feel free to put it there. And then I'll show you in a moment how to download the chat, so you'll have it.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah, if you hit the enter key, you gotta, that doesn't go to the next line. It saves it locally, so no worries. What else is on your mind? Any other questions or thinking about, your own job search or your own way to approaching your career? Is there anything else that comes to mind maybe I can help you with?
I like your suggestions about reaching out within the field. And I'm looking to do something different than what I'm already doing. And so, I've been looking at, what do people in that industry do? And what kind of certifications do they have? So I like your idea about reaching out within the field.
Okay, good. I'm glad that was helpful. And certainly consider searching for meetup groups as well.
It wasn't, I knew of Meetup, but I have to tell you that I didn't think it was what you said it was.
Yeah. It's not a dating website, although, you know, there could be meetup groups for singles and whatnot. I'm sure there's a group for everything. You know, you said you're in Hopewell, Central New Jersey. There are lots of groups. Certainly, Josh being in New York, you know, I'm sure there's lots of groups. Assuming you're in, you know, the New York City or metro area, lots of groups that are there. Yep.
I saw a suggestion recently where someone was looking for, I guess, a specific job, and so they searched in LinkedIn for people who had that job, and then I saw where they worked and the companies that hired that type of a person. I thought that was kind of an interesting way to go about looking for places for jobs.
Yeah, LinkedIn, in my opinion, and I think others feel this way, as LinkedIn continues to strengthen, it may be replacing the resume altogether. People will use LinkedIn. For the recruiters, it's less expensive than any of the job boards. They have incredibly strong search tools for recruiters that are separate from the LinkedIn that you and I would use. It's dynamic because it's a social media site where Monster and Career Builder tend not to be. If you are going to be using Monster and Career Builder and, excuse me, Dice, which are fine too for posting, what I would say is every week update your profile. And the reason why, their search engines work the same way as Google and LinkedIn. Older profiles, older resumes go to the bottom of the list. Current profiles come up. So when I was in job search, what I would do every Sunday morning, I would turn on the coffee pot, sit down and update my profiles. And then when that was done, the coffee was ready. And the types of changes I would make were twofold. One was I changed my phone number. And you may say, why would you change your phone number? I want something in my personal profile changed. My phone number starts with the area code 609. Sometimes it was 609 dash. The next week it might be 609 dot. And then sometimes the 609 was in the parentheses. And I saved it. So it was the same number, but what these job boards saw was I made a change. I have a current profile. And then whichever resume I uploaded, I always had two copies. David Shuckman resume 1, David Shuckman resume 2. If this Sunday was an even day, I downloaded the number 1 resume and uploaded the number 2 resume. The next week I flip-flopped. Now what happens was every week I had a brand new resume. It was really the same one, but not to the job boards. The job boards really saw this as current. And it improves your chances of being found when you get a match to the search they're doing. So yeah, there's only 3 or 4 job boards. It doesn't take very long. You'll knock this off and your pot of coffee will be done, or whatever your morning ritual is. You know, if you want to learn about more programs like these, I just put a link called landingexpert.com, and that's in the chat. And on there, that's a career coach. I mentioned there's a career coach who specializes in interview prep, and the gentleman, Alex, is just a wonderful gentleman. And he maintains a list of local job seeker support groups in the tri-state area. So it's, well, it's more than tri-state. So it's, while he's based in, well, Hopewell, he keeps it for New Jersey, southern part of New York, eastern Pennsylvania, Delaware. So there's lots of job seeker support groups. What's nice about that is, since almost all of them are virtual, and if they're not virtual, they're probably on a hiatus, it doesn't matter where you live. You can fit a virtual presentation. So the group I mentioned, sorry?
Interesting.
Yep. So the group I mentioned a little bit earlier, and I can show you some, you know, the website as well. PSG of Mercer County, we meet every Friday morning at 10 o'clock. You don't need to join in advance. You just need the link and attend. And we have a different topical presenter every week. So there's a group that meets this Saturday morning at 8:30. There was one that met last Saturday at 8 o'clock. Almost every day of the week, if not every day of the week, has some group somewhere. And if you want to see some of them, I'll show them to you if that's helpful to you. Yeah, because we still got a little bit of time. Or not. Okay, let's see.
Jen, are you going back into communications? Is that what you think you're going to do? Or you're just trying to explore if that's what you like?
Yeah, not sure exactly. Probably something communications related. My kids are headed to bed. Give me honey. But I'm thinking about something maybe more health related, like health communication, just because for the past so many years I've been doing like working at gyms and teaching yoga and studios and things like that. So I kind of want to bring that part in to kind of stay relevant.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I have to believe that there are a lot of opportunities now. Just given the sense of the pandemic, it becomes so important that good information gets out efficiently and effectively. So you might look at healthcare systems or large practices. Some like radiology practices have multiple offices and 20, 30, 40 doctors. They want to get the information out. Yep. So just wanted to show really quick. If you go to my website, at the top, workshops, and at the bottom, recently offered programs. And then here's the slide deck right there. And what will happen once we're done, here it says play presentation video. I'll have one of those right under here as well. And you can re-watch this video if you would like to. You can download it, it's fine. All my information is proprietary. So if that's of interest. The job seeker support group that meets on Friday morning, I mentioned, I lead that group, PSG of Mercer County. And it's psgofmercercounty.org. Here is the group's event calendar. And all you do is click on the upcoming week. This is a gentleman, Doug Berger. We're talking about empowering yourself. And here is the meeting connection information. We use this same GoToMeeting platform. So there's the link right there. You don't have to register. You don't have to join. You just show up if you want. Each week we update it. And you can look at this. We're booked into June with presenters. Getting interviews through successful networking. So,
and
yeah,
those are free to attend?
Pardon me?
Are those free to attend?
Completely free. No sign up or registration required. Free, open to anybody who wants to be there.
Okay, thank you.
I actually had someone a number of years ago when we first started developing our website. So you've heard of like not-for-profit companies. We're a not-for-income. We don't accept any money. So we did not have a web address at the time. And one of the members, very sweet lady, said, David, I will give you the $20, get a real web address. And I refused to take her money. It was just I had to get around to when our website was ready to get the web address. And now in Google, they're only 12 bucks a year. They're not expensive. So I will not take a nickel. We do get a little bit of sponsorship from the Princeton Public Library. When we meet in person, that's where we meet, and they are a wonderful sponsor for us.
That's PSG.
PSG of Mercer County. There are a few other PSG groups. They used to be part of the state of New Jersey's unemployment labor and workforce development office, but the state defunded them in 2012. I don't know why. And we were lucky. We found a new home instead of being the Mercer County unemployment office, the Princeton Public Library. There's another one in Somerville called PSG of Central Jersey, and there's another one in Morris County. If you go to this resources page, maybe this helps Josh a little bit. Here are some career resources, including career coaches. Alex Freund, John Hadley, Alan Kirshner.
PSG of Mercer. Okay.
Sorry? Yeah,
Oh,
PSG of Mercer.
where you had
Marty
it.
Lackman, Crystal Nova, what's her? Crystal MacArthur has this one. So here's a list where you can find some, and then these are other groups as well, other career resources. We even have where's the New York State Department of Labor. So Josh, if that's a resource for you, that's there. There are other networking groups. We did put some of them here. So if that's helpful, you're welcome to find that. So it's not just the New Jersey website.
Great, thanks for that.
Yep. This group, Career Support Group, they meet this Saturday. And the gentleman who is presenting is a recruiter who uses LinkedIn. So he's going to talk about how recruiters use LinkedIn. And this group is also free. It's the third Saturday of the month, 8:30 in the morning. You just show up. And you can stay as long as you want, as long as you're not sick and tired of me, because I'm on that group as well. I'm the group's treasurer. In April, they're doing this marketing plan, a little bit different. So a lot of resources out there for job search, especially in the New Jersey area. I have a friend of mine who's a career coach in South Florida, and she was from New Jersey. That's how I got to know her. And she said, you know, her business model had to completely change. There's not a job seeker support model like we have in New Jersey, in South Florida. So New Jersey is a very strong market for guidance and assistance. All right. Anything else on your mind before we wrap up?
No, I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, I think nothing else. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much, David.